Good evening. This is your host, Francis, of The Unexpected Detour. It is February 20th, and it's the 20th day of Black History Month. How about that? Black History Month. You don't get 30 days, you get 28 days, but we won't complain about that because every day is Black History Month, at least in my book. And I remember growing up and the only people I would ever hear about was Crispus Attucks, George Washington Carver, Frederick Douglass, and Dred Scott, who I regrettably was teased about because he had a short haircut, and at that time I was just growing my afro. Very, very annoyed by a group of kids who, me being the only black person in the class, would be so humiliated, so hurt. And as I think back, it does still hurt, but with it came growth because I learned that I was much better than that. And today I was having a conversation with someone and I was talking about Black history. And it's a shame that for me, being a baby boomer, grew up not knowing about my Black history, about all these people who helped shape the United States that was omitted out of a history book. Why? I don't know. Who wrote the book? I guess that was their decision to omit that and not give us credit, at least Black Americans, credit for the things that they have accomplished. I didn't become aware of things until I was home. And you grow up in a home and you always hear the parents talking about what was going on. So for me, the thing was Martin Luther King. That was the thing. You would hear about it. I actually remember as a 5-year-old walking on picket lines, singing that song, We Shall Overcome. I remember growing up having to say that we had that album, I Have a Dream, and having to know that speech. But you know what? Me knowing the speech didn't explain to me who Martin Luther King was. It wasn't until the day he was killed and my great aunt began to cry, and I was like, well, what's wrong? I thought she lost her best friend. And that's when she explained it to me. And it's sad that we don't know, as a Black American, I hardly knew anything. I didn't know anything. And it wasn't until I got into high school where I became more versed with Black history. And we didn't learn it in school, but I learned from being in a group of Black girls who knew and who were willing to teach the undergrads of Black history. And I appreciate that. And as time went by, I noticed that they would teach this in school, in college. We're not going to say school, but college. And I would be like, I never learned all of this. Black history, what is this? So much was omitted out of the history books that it's really sad. And it's really bad, excuse me, that they don't give us credit. But now, today, all the gems have come alive. And things that we never knew, they're coming to life. Are they getting credit? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact of the matter is, they're no longer hidden. I remember my son, when he was in grade school, he learned more about Black history in the 80s than I did in the 60s. And that is where I began to learn so many things just by helping him do his projects in school, and I would sit there and read, and I was like, wow. I mean, just like when I found out that it was a black man that created the street light, Garrett Morris. I was like, whoa, how about that? But we never gave him credit. Black people gave him credit, but he doesn't get credit. And it was sad. And then I look at society today. Us, and I'm going to speak for my own people, black people, who insist on buying kids things instead of teaching them about their history. It is more important to have the new sneakers, have this new game, have this, have that. But have you ever sat down and you've taught your children about Black history to let them know that there are great Black people out there who have done things, and maybe you can take a page from their book and maybe you can see how they did it and you can do it. There's so much missing, I'm telling you. But we don't teach our children that. We don't teach them anything. And I think this might be a wake up call to teach your children, never mind the Jordans and this and the rap music, teach them history, their history. Take them to the museum, take them somewhere, but teach them to read. That's one thing. Maybe they can get a good job if they learn how to read. But we have got to do better as a society. And it's not only just the Black people that need to know the history, we need everybody's history incorporated into all the books because everybody's culture contributed to the growth of the United States of America. It's not just the Black people, not just Italians, not Irish, not Indians, and it's everybody. Everybody had something to do with the growth of America. The indigenous people, they were already here. And if you didn't know, they owned slaves too. So they were here, and we just came and we just took their land. Some of them, we didn't want to come here, but indentured service slaves, all these people that were forced to come here, they built the country, and all of this should be incorporated into the history books. Let no stone be unturned. It is very important for the young to know. Forget about the gang banging and all of the other craziness and going to the movies, playing video games and stuff. Give your child a book. Let them sit there and read the book and learn something about Black history. All cultures. Learn something. Learn something about the Italians, what they brought to this country. You know, let's incorporate it. Let's learn how to get along as a nation of people who can get along. There is no more, I mean, well, there still is that mentality of the North and the South. But I'm going to tell you something, from going down South, you will know, you can feel it down there, the difference than up here when the racism is underlying and you don't know it exists. Down there, then you know it. Up here, it's a secret. And personally, I am tired of it. And I might live in a dream world, but I think it's time that we all learn to just get along with one another. It is about time. It's time for the nonsense, the madness, the killing, and everything. And is this what's going to go in the history books? How we annihilated each other because we couldn't stand one from another race, but we don't know why, or because these are what things that we're taught at home. You got to stop teaching your kids hate at home. Teach them We all are the same, believe it or not. We all bleed the same. We're going to all be born, we're going to live, and one thing, sure enough, we're all going to die. So let's, while we're on this earth, let's try to get it together and get along. And I will see you on the 30th of the month, where I will have a scripted podcast. This was an off key because this was something that was just on my mind. And usually I do write things down, but this was bothering me. So I just had to speak on it. So I will see you again. And with that, have a good night, be blessed, and we'll chat.